When I first booted the Silent Hill 2 remake, before I even touched the controller, I felt it. That low hum, that quiet pressure in the air. The sound wasn't just ambience, it was breathing. And then, slowly, the music began to crawl in. The piano notes didn't feel like music, they felt like thoughts, like something breaking through fog, that kind of quiet you can only find inside of guilt. The journey of Silent Hill 2 is well known by now, and it's one of the greatest psychological horror stories ever told, a descendant not into monsters, but into the human mind. But there is something that lingers beneath all the symbolism, beneath the fog and the grief. There's something people rarely talk about. Have you ever wondered how deep Silent Hill 2 music actually reflects James Sunderland's mind? How it's not just there to set the mood, but to speak for him. How the sound itself becomes the voice of everything he can't say. Welcome to The Sound of Emotion, and today we're exploring the haunting truth hidden in Silent Hill 2 music. From the moment you start the game, there is a mystery that sinks its claws into you. Nothing really makes sense, but everything feels familiar. The fog, the empty streets, the sound of wind brushing against rusted metal, it all feels wrong. But wrong in a way that's deeply human. When you first enter the graveyard and meet Angela, you can almost feel the soundtrack breathing around the two of you. It's quiet, a little bit too quiet. It fills the space like an unspoken confession. From that point on, the music becomes the echo in James's head. It dictates his fears, his regrets, and the unbearable weight of what he's done. It's not just music playing in the background, it's his consciousness made audible. At first, you may not notice it, but as you move through the game, through its decaying rooms and heavy silence, you start to feel it. The soundtrack is James. His repression, his denial, and his pain. The sounds of Silent Hill aren't just environmental, they are psychological. If there was ever a definition of the sound of guilt, it would live here. But Silent Hill's brilliance lies in how it captures the complexity of human emotions. James doesn't just feel regret, he's longing, grieving, and trying to piece himself back together while running from the truth. The music doesn't give him comfort, it holds up a mirror, and what he sees reflected is unbearable. Silent Hill 2 soundtrack is a dialogue beneath two worlds, the metallic and the melancholic. On one side we have the industrial, the humming machinery, distorted percussions, static and distant mechanical heartbeats. On the other, fragile pianos, soft strings, guitars that sounds like they are decaying mid-note. Together they form the soundscape of a man split in two. When you hear those metallic groans and troubling echoes, it's not random noise, it's the sound of James' repression. The confusion, the guilt, the pain he refuses to face. Every distorted hum feels like a thought he's trying to bury. These sounds don't just create fear, they simulate disorientation. That sense that the world is slipping away because your own mind is. Then the melancholy returned. Pianos, violins, guitars, almost like moments of clarity. These are James' memories trying to surface. They sound beautiful, but there's always something off about them. A dissonant chord, a note that never resolves. They are fragile reminders of what is lost and of what is done. The game sharpens this construct beautifully. Every note feels colder, more personal. The industrial tracks feel heavier, closer to James' chest, while the emotional themes feel rawer, almost intimate, like confessions whispering to the void. That's what makes this soundtrack so powerful. It's not about fear, it's about exposure. It's about being unable to hide from your own sound. As the story unfolds, the soundtrack begins to mirror James' emotional arc, from denial to guilt to acceptance. Every stage of that journey has its own voice. The theme of Laurel is hopeful yet uneasy, a theme that it plays like a memory of something that used to comfort you but now feels foreign. The melody tries to move forward, but there's a tension beneath it, like a heartbeat caught between fear and yearning. This song represents James' denial, the thin layer of sanity he clings to at the beginning. It's him pretending that he's just there to find Mary, that everything is fine, that this town might still give him peace. But even in that melody warmth, there is dissonance, a subtle hint that peace is impossible. Then comes the descent. Well, it's not exactly this song, but it's white noise, or more actually actual noise. It's not music in the traditional sense, it's an emotional environment. The static feels suffocating. The sound of something breaking inside your own head. You can almost hear James' thoughts colliding. Guilt trying to rationalize itself, regret trying to whisper over the noise. It's the sound of a man hiding from what can't be hidden, the weight of running from what can't be outrun. There is something devastating about how Yamaoka turns these ambient distortions into empathy. You don't just hear James' guilt, you feel it pressing on your chest. And then at the very end comes True. It's soft, almost fragile. The melody feels like it's on the verge of breaking, like James himself. It's the sound of realization, of everything finally collapsing into truth. When the piano hits those high, trembling notes, it's as if James is no longer finding the truth, it's letting it wash over him. There is grief here, but also something closer to peace. The peace that only comes when you stop lying to yourself. In those final moments, the music doesn't forgive James. It simply acknowledges him. It allows him to feel the full weight of who he is, and explains the opening scene where James can't look at himself without feeling disgusted. And then there's the ending. Promise, reprise, reborn in the remake as Promise of the Forgotten. It's the sound of closure that never arrives, a piano piece that feels like forgiveness but refuses to resolve. The melody rises gently, like the memory of something sacred, but it never quite finds its peace. Each note echoes the weight James carries. The unbearable realization that he ended the life of the person he loves the most. It's a love song played on guilt, a requiem for denial. What makes this track so haunting is how honest it feels. There is no catharsis here, no redemption. Just a fragile reflection of a man who did something unforgivable and is trying to make sense of it. The music ends before the emotion does. It lingers in your head unresolved, just like James' soul. And that's the brilliance of Yamaoka's approach in the soundtrack. The music doesn't cleanse you, it comforts you. There is no release, only reflection. Because some truths don't fade, they echo. Silent Hill 2 isn't just horror. It's humanity stripped raw, exposed through sound. It's the sound of guilt we try to bury, the sound of memory we can't forget, and the sound of love that turns into something darker. Maybe that's why the soundtrack still lingers, because it doesn't let us escape what we've buried. It makes us listen to it. The game captures that perfectly, that fragile, painful honesty. It feels more real than ever because we've grown, we lived through our own mistakes, our own regrets, and when we hear those notes again, they don't sound like horror, they sound like empathy. The haunting truth behind Silent Hill 2 music isn't fear, it's understanding. Understanding that James isn't really a monster. He's a flawed human. He has done mistakes and has regrets, hides and buries his awful acts, and refuses to face the truth of his reality. The fog lifts, the music fades, and what remains is silence. The kind that doesn't comfort, but reminds us. Reminds us that guilt doesn't vanish. It changes shapes, it becomes sound. In the end, we understand that we are flawed, and there is no escape from our actions, And Silent Hill 2 OST peels our inner onions and opens up our deepest feelings, because what truly haunts us isn't the fear, it's the empathy for a man who committed murder out of love, but also out of anger, the duality of a man watching someone he cares dying day by day and selfishly decides to end, even though if he could, he would spend the rest of his life with Mary. Thank you for watching. If this video made you feel something, if it made you remind you why this story still echoes all these years later, I would love to hear what songs from Silent Hill 2 stay with you. Drop it in the comments, I read every single one of them and respond to it. If you want to keep exploring how music holds emotion, watch my video on Expedition 33 next. It's about how Expedition 33 OST secretly tells the story. Thanks for watching, thanks for feeling. See you next time.